with Psychic Focus at psychicfocus.blogspot.com, and today I wanted to do my end of the year post with looking ahead at 2020. So grab you some coffee because it is going to be quite a long post here. So I'll go ahead and get started. And what I did was I put the cover to the Economist magazine at the very top. They always have the most interesting cover, and there's always some kind of symbolism or something to talk about. So I put it up there for all of you to look at. I'm curious your thoughts and your analysis of the cover as well. So I'll go ahead and get started. So the way that I phrased this, I said with the end of 2019 approaching and 2020 around the corner, I wanted to take a look ahead to see what we can expect. I also wanted to have a look at the Economist, which I mentioned, since this magazine usually publishes an interesting cover. Quick note before I continue, I'm not a doctor, attorney, or financial advisor. I just always have to put that disclaimer out there because I'm going to talk about quite a few different topics as we get started here. So all of my responses come from a psychic intuitive perspective. Hope you enjoy, and I'd love to hear your thoughts as well, so please feel free to leave a comment. Okay, so when I very first tuned into this, I get there is a subliminal message, or rather several, being conveyed on this magazine cover. If you look at it, you see 2020 jumping out, but also when you think about what does 2020 mean to you, 2020 is symbolic of perfect vision, and note that 2020 and vision are both in color on this magazine cover. So it came to me that this illustrator, they're trying to see or forecast an event or several events playing out or projecting them into the collective, because if we all start to think about it, the thought behind that is we can make it happen, we can manifest it. So they're putting that out there because that's really what they're hoping. I get that there's no coincidence that 2020 is also followed by the word Trump and exit in the preceding rows of the magazine, as if this wishful intent is being put out there for Trump's exit. So that was the big thing that jumped out to me with this magazine cover. So what I'm going to do now is break this down into various topics and then move forward. The first one I want to look at is politics, government, the swamp, and Q. So I know that's a lot, and as we go into 2020, this political division that we have going on is going to continue. And I get that this threat of impeachment looks to come and go in waves. Specifically, I see the Dems, they raise a concern, they focus on impeachment, somehow it gets shot down, something will happen, and then they start the cycle all over again. And I get that this is going to be a huge topic in the Democratic platform after the DNC nominates their candidate and the campaign really buckles down and they get really serious about who it is that they want to represent their party going into these presidential elections. I couldn't see where they succeeded in getting him impeached, as a lot of the Republicans and the Democrats, they realize that these claims and these tactics, they really ultimately aren't helping the Democratic side in the long run, because a lot of the Dems are seeing through that they just don't like Trump. So they concoct all this stuff and try to create an impeachment, but those that go along with it, they're just supporting these claims and these allegations. But nonetheless, they're going to try. And every time that they hit a roadblock, they're going to have another thing. They're going to say that he lied about this or concoct another story. This, I don't see this stopping. They do not like him, and they're not going to stop until they try to get him out of office. I just don't see them succeeding in doing so. And I get that even some of the Dems that are more in the middle, they're going to leave their party and they're going to jump over to the Republican side, because the left is just continuing to move more and more left, and those that were moderate or those that were in the middle, it's like the far left isn't aligning with their set of core beliefs. So they're going to end up moving to the Republican side as well. There's going to be just a lot of shifting of these parties back and forth, and a lot of political division. I get that the American democracy and the government is going to be put into question for even allowing this impeachment stuff to be entertained, and there's going to be even a further divide and evoke a lot of emotion on both sides. So this is far from done. I also get the left is going to be in overdrive, painting a picture of this euphoric society that can only be achieved through socialism. presidential race is going to feel more like this socialist regime versus a capitalistic one. It's just a completely different scenario. It used to be that whether you were a Democrat or Republican, you wanted the same thing in the end. In the end, you wanted what was in the greater good of the people, or at least that illusion of that was out there. But now it's almost like what the Dems want is something completely different than what the conservative Republican side wants. They have two completely different visions of the direction the country should go in. And I just see that creating such division within the people too, because they're painting a picture that socialism would be great, but ultimately they don't see that people are going to pay for this in the end, whether it's through taxes, whether it's through being controlled. And in some regard, socialism needs to be funded, but they look to omit that part of it. You know, the values of the U.S. they were founded on and will be challenged like they've never have been before, and the Dems look to vote guilt or shame in order to gain voter support. Like if you have some kind of traditional value based on, you know, decades of what this country was, it looks as though you're going to be viewed as bad, or you're going to have some obia or an ist tied to your name just because of your beliefs. And I get that these terms are going to fly freely from their mouths to the point where the words, they don't even hold the same meaning anymore. They don't even have the same weight. And in the end, I did see that Hillary is seriously considering jumping back in or even entertaining the idea when she's interviewed, but she ultimately does not do it. And it's more when she's being interviewed, this emotion of, you know, she's still a little bitter and resentful because she felt like something was promised to her that didn't come to fruition, and she feels like that was owed to her. Like she paid her life and made whatever connections and deals and transactions that she did, tolerated things that maybe she didn't even want to tolerate. At the end, she was supposed to be handed this presidency, and when that didn't happen, she's still very, very bitter about it. And I got that Biden is going to be the choice, and he's going to be the one to win this as far as the Democratic side and through the DNC when the conventions and so forth go through, because they felt like he was the best choice to actually beat Trump, and Trump gladly takes the challenge. And even though it feels to be very scandalous because some of the powers that were get exposed and go down for their corruption, Trump ends up winning. So the scandals are not done. This is going to get incredibly heated before all of this actually happens. And it's going to be a really long, really hard fight. And I got to expect this to be an election like no other. You know, the swamp's going to continue to drain. More and more execs step down. Some are forced, some do it willingly because they know that they've been involved in some shady business and they don't want to be associated or implicated any further. They also realize the severity of the situation, and they don't want to be added to any body count list. I put a link to the actual body count on my blog itself if you want to go in and read the article and do a little fact checking or research for your own. I see that Trump's somewhat sitting back and strategically allowing people to look foolish and get caught in their own lies. And once he's reelected, he's going to work hard to take some of these powerful people down. There looks to be a surge of unsealed indictments coming forward, along with people disappearing in accidental deaths. I'll let you interpret that. So we have the Illumidonkey out there, looks to throw out a last-ditch effort trying to manipulate the election and get their agenda back in play. And I see there's a timeline in force that no matter what they do, they're going to be blocked, but it does not stop them from trying. They're relentless. I will give them that. They do not give up. Many of them are going to realize that they have lessons to learn, but they're going to resist them the whole way. I see Q becoming really active during this election. The drops on his message board is going to become more clear. So it seems like a lot of his messages are kind of cryptic. You know, you get the numerology in there trying to sort it out. I get he's going to be a little more blatant with what he's doing, and they're going to be more and more. So watch for him to appear and work with Trump to reveal bits of information and a little bit of hope for what's yet to come. There's going to be a lot of following the white rabbit in our future here. All right, so enough of that. I'm going to move on to health and outbreaks. So the good news was I didn't really see too much happening with this. The one thing that I did have come forward was midsummer, which is July for me. I saw that there is some kind of an illness that breaks out, and I didn't know it was tied to a small insect, and I wasn't sure if it was a tick or a mosquito. And it looked like it was some kind of newer version that's something that already exists, and this new vaccine looks to be created as a result. So listen to your instincts. Don't fall prey to the fear. And I get that the number and the spreading, it's just a projection that's not really a reality, and it's another way to market test drugs in certain demographic areas. So just watch for that this summer. As far as climate change, it's going to be a hot topic, and Greta looks to stay in the public eye through the beginning of 2020. I see her popularity declining, though, by fall or September, and she looks to be in the past. The PTW, they need something fresh and new to get people's attention, and I get a false flag is going to take her place as something eventful and distracting needs to happen before the presidential election. This is so important to them, this election. It is on every influential person's radar. All of the PTW, they're going to be obsessed with it in 2020. All right, worldwide events. And I had a few here. So Brexit, it does look to happen. See a lot of hesitation for the EU to let it go through, but ultimately they can't hold it any longer. And I heard the phrase when I was focused on it that it's happening. I just kept hearing, it's happening, it's happening. It looks like a back and forth tug of war until the summer of 2020. And I get that there's even some things to work out, but they finally get it released. I also got that there was this impression that this exiting action will be vilified, like they're going to talk really bad about it. And the reason for that is they're worried other countries are going to use this and follow suit. That so the EU's making this very hard, very difficult, costly, just so much stuff tied to it because they don't want to lose other countries as well. So watch for some stuff to still happen with that before they finally get to break free. Unrest in Hong Kong, it's going to persist. Riots, protests are going to continue, and I don't see people backing down. And I couldn't see an end date to this either, to these civil demonstrations. It looks like other countries support Hong Kong, but I don't see them getting involved. It's more of a watch and see type of a thing. So a lot of activity there, but I didn't see any real intervention going there. Russia looks to fade in and out of the news, and I saw Russia being an old talking point. So the topic of Russia is more like filler when they have nothing else to talk about. So when things seem boring or slow or any of that, they're gonna pop in some little Russian tidbit just to fire people up, and then they're gonna move on. But I don't see any super significant things happening with that. Artificial intelligence is gonna be huge, and it's gonna be presented in such a way that people find it exciting and embrace it without realizing the consequences. I guess it's going to be introduced as a way to even replace people as far as roboticized relationships and partners. And it's like they're trying to desensitize us to all this stuff. And not only are they desensitizing us, they're using it as a way to breach our privacy. And people allow it in the name of technology and advancements. And it's done on this willing level. So they're just extracting so much information. They have so much information, they don't even know what they're going to do with it yet. But nonetheless, they still have it. Space and Mars are going to be hot topics this summer and fall. They look to be distractions when other events are going on. For example, when the media needs a news story, some breakthrough is going to happen to provide an emotion of hope, some kind of talking point, and emotions of excitement. I see something about Mars, and it's either a breakthrough, like a live action probe that's put there, or some other technological advancement, but it feels big. I also got that something's going to be spotted and create a huge amount of interest, even though in reality it's just like, and I heard this, Red Hot Chili Peppers say, you know, space might be the frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood basement. I kept hearing that song lyric in my head, so they may say it. I'm not, but I think that the footage is going to be representative of the lyric I kept hearing played over and over. Okay, so this was an email sent to me, ties so much in with 2020. It says, India is brought to my attention through an email. Someone stated to me, those living there are experiencing a government that's determined to create a division among communities. They passed a Citizens Act which will create or grant citizenship on the basis of religion instead of focusing on a main issue like economy. Their economy is not doing well. All major data is showing it going from bad to worse. And what does 2020 hold for India? So because this ties into 2020 and what's happening, I wanted to look at it, and when I did, I got that the government in India is very stern in their beliefs, and they're not going to back down regardless of any social rest that it causes. Look for a lot of protests. Things are going to get very emotionally driven. Look for the government to gain control by force rather than compromise or reason. They're going to force people to do what they want. They're not going to entertain just a civil communication. It's going to be very hands-on. And India, they have a tough year of transition ahead of them. And I also see that many people either converting or lying about their religion, and some even moved from India. The population looks like a shift as well. So I expect India to undergo a huge change in 2020. All right, moving forward, the economy, precious metals and stocks. So what do I see for that? And I get the PTW, they're working to force a recession at the early to midpoint of 2020. They want these markets to struggle while Trump's working to be reelected. Not only is it tiring to work through and reverse a recession, it makes re-election that much harder. So watch for trends, be cautious of fake news. It drives these markets down. The fake news or bad news triggers mass selling as people with large amounts of shares dump back into the market. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of manipulation going on here. When I look at the Economist cover, I saw the XI, and I get to sign about 11. So they're trying to tell us something about 11. So when I was thinking about that, I didn't see it happening in the 11th month. November felt way too, late in the year. I see this more as a sign that something's going to trigger on the 11th of the month in mid-summer. So all you symbology people out here, there's a call out to you. What do you get with that? Please leave a comment. I'm really curious of your perspective. Okay. Silver looks to do really well in 2020. I see the price of it slowly inclining, looks to top out or hold its position around $48 an ounce. As the market starts to become shaky, precious metals look more like a secure investment to hold. On a positive note, so I always want to end this on something positive. I know some of the stuff was a little back and forth that I mentioned earlier, but this is disclosure, spiritual, and the event. So what do I have for that? I got that, believe it or not, it is around the corner. And I get that we're going to be seeing a lot of ET and ET life. The UFO sightings are going to rise. And I get that Q's going to be talking about it. And one of the things that Trump's going to discuss when he starts his second term is a validation of their existence. It might be more like 2021. Let the guy get in there and get his term going. Initially, I don't see an official announcement being made soon, but Q's going to announce it, and it's going to leak more and more from there through social media. People are going to open up, wake up to the truth constantly. We're seeing that shift more and more. We're in the age of spiritual enlightenment. That's going to mean different things to different people, but we're moving in the direction of ascension. And as we begin to incarnate on the 4D earth, our vibration as a collective is also rising. There is a section of people that are set to repeat their next life cycle here in the 3D, but many are ready or preparing to move on. We're also going to continue to receive energy surges as the event approaches. People that are sensitive are going to continue to see their intuitive abilities increase, and things like clairaudience, intuition, clairvoyance, all those things are going to be noticed more and more. Sensitive people are going to notice periods of fatigue, but that's tied to the constant upgrades your body's enduring and processing all these different energy surges that we're getting. So, I know this is a big post, but all in all, these are the things that jumped out to me for 2020. I just want to give a quick shout out to all of you. Thank you so much for your support and the blog. I was looking through all my stuff and I realized the blog is going to approach 8 years. So 8 years I've been with all of you, and some of you have been here from the very beginning. And I want to send a quick thank you to all my patrons. With all the censorship and all the stuff that's been happening really heavy over the past year, it's just been more and more difficult to get the message out there and grow the community. I've had to revert to different things, and Patreon's been one outlet that I've used, and I am so grateful for all of you that have taken time and gone over there and supported me that way as well. So again, thank you to everybody who reads the blog, all the comments. I love reading them. Even if I don't respond to each one, I go in and I read them all. I love the information, the little community we have. It's been such a beautiful thing. You've been, I'm just so humbled to have all of you in my life. So I want to say that as I tell everybody, Happy New Year. And, you know, from me to you, love and light, and please leave a comment. I love hearing from all of you. And that's all I have. Again, I'm Lynn with Psychic Focus at psychicfocus.blogspot.com. Thanks. Bye.